My name is Megan Leffler, and this is my vocabulary game assignment. I chose to turn this in video form because I thought that it would be a little bit easier to explain just the concept of the game and show you how it's played. Just be a little bit easier than typing it up. So the unit that I chose was Tuck Everlasting novel unit. The students are to identify the figurative language within the text. The materials that I created were the vocab. So I've got a couple lists of vocabulary words. The vocab is in black, and then in pink there are examples of the figurative language being used throughout the novel along with the page numbers. So that's one piece of material that I needed. The second piece of material that I needed was, depending on how many groups you have students in, would depend on how many sets of these vocabulary words you need. I have them on this card, so they would be in like a bowl or maybe just like in a pile on the table. But each one of these strips has one of the vocab words that I have on my list. I know that the assignment said to identify 12 to 15 vocab words. There might be a couple more than that in my list. But I've got one set on a blue card for one team. And then I've got another set on a yellow card. Can't really see them, sorry. There one goes. But they both have the same lists of words, like they both have the same sets. So each team has got the same words, same amount of words. When students come up to these, I would prefer for them to be face down, but once students get to shuffling around and looking through them, they're not going to stay face down. I get that. So just start it out cards face down so nobody can have any advantages over anybody else. So those are all the materials I needed. I guess I could use a timer also, but I was just going to give the students 5 to 10 seconds, and I'll get to why they would need the 5 to 10 seconds right now. So the concept of the game is to earn the most points. So depending on how many teams you have would determine how many students are on each team. I would not suggest using more than like 3, 4, maybe 5 students per team. You want them to be pretty even so that way it's fair and everybody gets a turn. So these little piles of words will be on, I'm sorry, it's a little warm. These piles of words will be on either side of the classroom. So students will be lined up in their groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, however many people in a straight line. I guess you could number the students off 1, 2, 3, 4, and they would get in line that order. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then the first person comes up to the front of the line. He's the first contestant in the game. So what I would do, and I guess you could do this a couple different ways. You could either call out the definition, like speak the term. For example, if I wanted to call out if I wanted to have students find the term, the term for the definition of dialogue, I would shout out a conversation between characters that's closed in by quotation marks. I would give the students 5 to 10 seconds to discuss with their teams what term they thought it was. They're not going to have a list. These are words that we have covered throughout the entire novel, so this would be done like closer to the end of the book, I would say. We could do this each chapter if we wanted to, but for this specific game it would be at the end of the novel. So they should know all of these terms. They should have them embedded in their minds. They should use them. They should know how to identify them. So by giving them a definition, I would expect them to be able to say, hey, that term is dialogue. You need to go find the dialogue. So if students need the 5 to 10 seconds, they can have the full 5 to 10 seconds. If they do not need it, they don't have to wait for me to say, okay, time's up. So give them 5 to 10 seconds, they'll figure out, hey, it's dialogue. They will run, that first person will run to their pile of terms, and they'll start looking frantically until they find the word dialogue. They will run back to the opposite side of the room where their team is located, and they will put it in a basket. Or they could just put it on a desk. Boom. First team gets 1 point, or gets 2 points if they come back with the correct word. Second team gets 1 point if they come back with the correct word. Now, here's where it could get kind of competitive, I guess, in a sense, because your scores can go up or down. If a student comes back and they have an incorrect word, -1 point for your whole team. -1 point. So I will keep a running tally of the points throughout the entire game, and this team with the most points at the end wins. At the very end of the game, once all of the words have been gone through or we have used up our time, I'm going to give the students one more chance to gain bonus points for their team. So at the end of the rounds, I will present each team with one sheet of paper. One sheet of paper will have terms on it. Each sheet will have all of the terms that we just went through on the paper, and it will have a whole bunch of space underneath of each term for them to decide what the definition is. So I will give students 2 minutes to go through their sheet of paper. I guess I could adjust the time depending on how many vocab words or how many students are per team. But they will get a certain amount of time, I would say 2 minutes, with all of these words and 3 or 4 people on a team to write down as many definitions as they can to the terms. Each correct answer gains 1 bonus point for your team. So you could have quite a few bonus points at the end if you know your terms. So that is how the game will be played in my classroom. And I think that's about it. So there is my game. Over the Tuck Everlasting figurative language embedded within the text. I hope you enjoy, and I can't wait to use this in my classroom.